Why you decided to make it a more realistic movie?
Well, I think the movie has to have a reason to exist, and I think that the technology gave us an ability to tell a story that you couldn't have told 20 years ago, 30 years ago. So that's why we did it.
Okay. And where did you get the references to make this movie? The comics, the former TV shows, the other movies? How did you created this movie?
I think for me, the biggest influences were the cartoons and the movies. I was a kid. I was a fan of that in South Africa. And then when I went into Andrew and Brad's office and Kevin Eastman was in their office, I saw the comics and I was very influenced visually by the first comics. And I know Andrew is a huge fan of the comics.
And I saw the 1990 movie in the theaters, but you know, we sat down with Kevin Eastman. You know, Eastman and Laird created this unbelievable franchise, and we had this pool of characters to draw from. We were always going to tell an original story. We were never going to remake one of the movies. But it literally was like, okay, let's look at every character over the last 30 years that have ended up in Ninja Turtles. Yeah. And then start putting them together. And then early on, we knew, obviously, the four guys and Splinter were going to be in the movie. And then we slowly narrowed it down for our human protagonist, and it was going to be April O'Neil, and then Shredder was going to be the villain of this movie. But literally just, you know, sitting with Kevin and going through all the characters and all the iterations of them and, you know, slowly putting this movie together and then getting the writers involved and, you know, developing our original story.
And the tone was honestly the hardest thing to find, but the truth is we started going in the direction of the cartoons and the movies without even realizing it. That's what we were getting drawn to, because I think that's where these characters are most relatable. They were brilliant in the comic books, okay? They were like these dark vigilantes, but they were most relatable, I think, to us. And the movie played its best when they were fun and charming, kind of like they were in the cartoons and the movies. And then visually, the comic books brought a sort of compelling, dark element that today's movies, I think, have a lot of in the superhero movies. So this very graphic framing that Michael Bay does so well also. So that was sort of the influences.
And how did you came up with Megan Fox as April O'Neil?
That was, I mean, that was Michael, right?
Yeah, I mean, you know, she was in the family. She had done the first two Transformers movies. We knew Megan, and Megan was a super fan, and we had heard that. And, you know, Paramount loves her. We sat down with her. We had like a 5-hour meeting, and we walked out of that meeting and said, that's April O'Neil. We can stop now. It was over. Just, you know, give her the yellow jacket.
Yeah, she's very, like, feisty and driven, and those were aspects that weren't actually written in the April O'Neil script yet, but when you meet Megan, you're like, oh, we got to put that in, and so there was a lot from her that we could put into the character, which I think was awesome. It was very easy to see her as April O'Neil.
Is there any chance that we can see a Bebop and Rocksteady in the future
We hope
movies?
so.
God,
we
love
want
those
that
guys.
to happen.
Please.
Yeah. I mean,
having them track down the turtles would be so much fun.
We did talk about that in this movie. I mean, that was one of the original ideas, and we just, at the end of the day, we couldn't fit it in. So if we're lucky enough to do it again, you'll hopefully see Bebop and Rocksteady.
Please do this.
Yes.
We'd love to.
Okay, guys,
If
thank you
people
very
in
much.
Brazil can watch Lula Carvalho's work, then we can put Bebop and
So
Rocksteady.
do that.
Yes.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.